So 2.0 is right around the corner, and I was a little tempted to talk about predictions. But while writing the script to the finale for my little Shiyu Defense challenge, I mentioned something that I thought was both a good capstone and follow-up to that, quote, conversation. And just a good message overall. In this video, I present a community service announcement. Fill out your surveys. I think it will show up sometime next week, assuming I get this out before the 2.0 dev talk. No clue which day. The end of patch surveys are the best way for you to tell the devs what you think about the current state of the game. ZZZ serves an international community, which is to say that I have zero expectation that any of the devs, let alone anyone from Hoyoverse, have ever seen one of my videos. The chances that they've seen even 1% of the tweets and the threads and the comments out in the wild are minuscule. It's too much data to process, let alone find. But the survey they run, internally, is one they are ready to process. There are staff whose job is to process those surveys and turn them into actionable data. I feel confident saying that there is no better way to reach out and be heard than to fill out their surveys. When players like me talk about being fans of the devs, it's because the devs have been listening. They have been responding, and surprisingly quickly, to feedback. They responded to a variety of issues related to TV mode. They responded to difficulty concerns. They did that with the 1.1 combat missions, followed by the Battle Tower, followed by Deadly Assault, followed by even more Battle Tower. Withering Garden was a bit slow for a daily activity, and they followed that up with the DPS check Inferno Reap, and then the faster Blitz mode. Travel got faster with a ludicrous number of teleport points, one for pretty much every single place of interest. Menu juggling, in order to determine how to spend your daily resources, used to be a real pain, having to step through multiple menus up and down before you could figure out what resources you needed each day. First, they gave us the ability to jump directly from a resource to the relevant content. Then, they also let us plan out our builds for our characters, either by ourselves or with community feedback. Now, setting a character as your target with this system flags the relevant resources in the HIA and the Scott Outpost. Forgetful players like me don't always have to open the agent window anymore while we're in the HIA or Scott Outpost, and it's appreciated. Many of us players have been recently complaining about the linear map getting too long. Guess what's coming in 2.0? An improved map. The devs aren't geniuses reading our collective minds in advance. They're soliciting feedback and they're listening to it. So if there's a change you want to see made, speak up in the survey. For example, if you think the polychrome rewards for Shiyu Defense should stop at A rank, ask for that. If enough people ask for it, it could happen. To me, the devs already seem open to such a change, since they capped the Battle Tower at level 15 and Deadly Assault at 6 stars. Shiyu Defense is the oldest mode. They haven't retroactively changed its reward system, but they might. What I do is I keep a text document on my desktop. Anytime I find something that annoys me or that I think could be improved, I write it down. Then, when the survey comes to town, I just copy-paste the whole thing into the further comments section at the end. So in the spirit of this community service announcement, let me share my current wish list of changes that I plan to enter into the next survey. Note, these are written as talking to the ZZZ devs for the survey, so if you're listening or watching this, I'm not talking to you. Number 1. Not sure how you would mix it into the current Shiyu Defense and Deadly Assault rotation, but I would love for you to bring back the ambush node style survival missions. I know the Battle Tower is almost this, but the tower has attrition, health carries into subsequent rounds. That's not a problem for me, I'm fine with the tower as is. But in addition to the tower, I'd also love one-off fights with super aggressive high damage enemies, where the S-rank goal is to clear without any deaths. This was fun in its own right, but also allowed for more team variety, since a weaker team doesn't have to worry about a clear time, but just being played well. In the tower, I can't really accept a victory where I only have 10% of my life left, but in the ambush node fights, that was perfectly fine. Number 2. Speaking of, maybe put the 1.2 ambush node back, until there is something new. Nothing filled that spot, so I suspect it wouldn't be that much trouble. There were some fun fights in that set, particularly the last round, the one with a Tycon robot in Pulchra and a Boxer in Moors. Number 3. Let me change teams between refights in the energy missions, HIA, Discs, Notorious Hunt, without backing out of the combat scene. I like to change my teams between every fight, and it's a nuisance to have to quit in order to do this when refighting is an option. Changing teams from combat is possible in the training room, so maybe this isn't hard to do in other combat rooms. Number 4. I'd love more team slots. Ideally, pages of slots. I currently have to overwrite teams in order to make new ones, and I'd rather just make new ones. Number 5. It'd be nice to see some muscle on stronger female characters. Caesar's arm, for example. Jiggle is appreciated, but muscle definition can be very attractive too. Number 6. I'd like a little more trust event variety and randomness. I think Astra currently spends more time inside the random play than I do nowadays. It'd be nice if she had somewhere else to go. Number 7. I wish the VR training options were saved. I don't use VR training a whole lot, but I often start with the same settings when I do, and it's annoying to reset it the same way every time. Number 8. I'd really like it if you added an attempts tracker to the Shield Defense and Deadly Assault modes, maybe even Notorious Hunts. This way, I can see a history and comparison of teams and times. If I clear with a strong team, then I still want to be able to see what times I can get with weaker ones. Currently, it only ever shows you your best time, so once you clear it, you can't see how you did with a weaker team, other than during the one-time results screen. Maybe only limit it to like 5 attempts so you don't have to store infinite data, but even that would be appreciated. Number 9. I think it would be really generous and awesome if the 50-50 chance on limited banner pulls only kicked in after the first pull of a character. i.e., the first pull of a character was always guaranteed. When we only had 2 characters at a time, the 50-50 didn't bother me so much, since it just guaranteed me the next character. But now that reruns have started, and there's a potential 4 new characters for me to pull, that 50-50 is starting to feel a lot more like being robbed. Letting us more easily enjoy the base version of your excellent characters, no signature weapon and no additional mindscapes, would spread a lot of goodwill among the community. And while I think monochrome is too expensive to buy, especially a potential 90 pulls worth, if I'm guaranteed the character the first time, and I'm close to 90 at the end of the banner, then this change might encourage me to actually buy monochrome just to get the character. I will not do that while I'm gambling against a coin flip. Number 10. I think you could hand out like twice as many standard pulls across the weeklies and event content. The limited banners always seem to be the best investment for polychrome, so I imagine doing this wouldn't impact your revenue much, if at all. I find it hard to imagine that there's a lot of standard banner whales. Currently, I single pull in the standard banner because we get them so infrequently. If we get them a little closer to the rate of our Bangbu pulls, I'd hold out for a 10 pull, and I think that would feel much nicer. Number 11. I'm sure there's a worry about clutter, but it would be real nice to get more combat buff indicators for drive discs and weapons. For example, Anton's signature weapon is one I really want to know whether or not I've activated it, and I'm never going to pause and check for it. That weapon has a huge damage buff, and not knowing whether I triggered it, whether it's expired, or when I can trigger it again, I think is a problem. Bonus points if you can show it during its cooldown state while I can't re-trigger it. Number 12. I would really like to see you bring back TV mode. Definitely for more one-off experimental exploration missions, but also for more character side stories. I think adding 1 or 2 character side missions to each patch, similar in style to the original standard banner side stories, would be a good way to continue adding content for Season 1 characters without taking much development time and resources away from the main story content. Number 13. I really want to fight a physical weak Deadly Assault boss. There's a number of physical DPS characters waiting for their chance to shine. We've got fire bosses, electric bosses, ice and ether bosses, even a disorder boss, but no physical bosses. Number 14. Since Bringer is designed to be weak to disorder teams, it seems a little unfair that he has physical resist, debuffing two well-loved anomaly characters. Maybe remove Bringer's physical resistance so Piper and Jane can bully him too. So if there's a change you want to see happen, speak up in the survey. I'm being a bit pedantic here, but this is a good format for a suggestion. What you want changed, why you want it changed, and optional, a suggestion for how it could be changed. Remember that how is just a suggestion, not a demand, but including it can help make what you want changed more clear. Including all three improves the chances that the devs will understand what's bothering you. The devs may not agree with how, but if they correctly understand what, and agree with why, then you have a better chance of being heard. Also, I'm just talking to the void here, but please be respectful. Don't bite the hand that feeds you. Finally, I do want to make some 2.0 predictions. The fun of publishing these will be seeing just how wrong I end up being, so let me lock them in before the next dev talk. First up, spoilers a bit for the epilogue. Okay, so we know Bell and Wise have enhanced powers now and can go into the Hollows. They're also going to get some kind of training from Yunkwai Summit in 2.0. So what do I think about that? I do not think they'll become combat agents. Wishful thinking on my part? Maybe. But here's why I think it. 1. The devs haven't phoned in any characters so far, so I'm not saying they couldn't make Bell and Wise badass. But they've also done a great job of giving each of those two their own style and personality. That means that I find it hard to imagine the devs making combat versions of them, Bell and Wise, that are one-to-one replacements for each other. If they're not the same, then their differences might alienate some players. If someone likes the weapon and animations of one over the other, and they couldn't freely swap their chosen protagonist, that might make them unhappy. 2. More importantly, I like them in their support role. I don't really want to see them fight. I like Eos and Fairy, and we've been getting less and less of them recently, and I want more instead. We got a tiny taste of what I think will happen in 1.7. One of the potentials of these new powers is that both your protagonist and second assistant can now go into the Hollow at the same time. Second assistant used to only comment from over your shoulder, but now they can control Eos while the protagonist goes in themselves. This could mean more opportunities for the siblings to interact with each other, and Eos, and Fairy, from the same scene within the Hollow, all at the same time. I'm all for seeing the siblings interact more. This change means they can now work together during a mission, instead of one of them taking a literal backseat. 3. What will they do in combat? I don't know exactly, but I think the devs have already laid the groundwork. Have you been in Lost Void recently? There's an extra button, isn't there? Were you there for the combat camera event? There was an extra button, wasn't there? In normal combat, that button does not exist, and it's free for the taking. I predict that Bell and Wise will get some kind of combat action using that button, but I've got no clue what it'll do. Whatever it ends up being, that's what I predict Bell or Wise will do in combat, some kind of limited support role. Next, can I predict the character release schedule? No, but I'm going to try anyway. We know our 2.0 characters, Ju Fufu, Yi Zhuan, and Pan Yin Hu. I'm going to predict most of the following updates under the assumption that we'll continue the same main story and intermission pattern we've been having. 2.1 Intermission. The two teams I'm guessing will be lighter intermission stories are the two girls and the HIA team. I originally wanted to put the girls here because I think they're being hinted at with this new Internaut post. There's a mention that the charm shows a raccoon in the comments, so that makes me think that Spook Shack might end up being related to these girls, or even their faction name. Based on that post, and how they appeared in the teaser, I think the girls will end up being something like amateur ghost hunters. They end up investigating the Exaltists on their own, stumble into trouble, and they'll need our help. People have also pointed out that Lilac wears the same amulet, and I think she'll probably show up as part of this team in story, though not as a combat agent. Anyway, I wanted to put them here at 2.1 because of the post, but I can't escape the name, Their reveal in the teaser, Lilac's link to Victoria housekeeping, I've got to put them in 2.3. My rushed calendar estimation makes me think that 2.3 will release sometime close to Halloween. So 2.1 goes to the bunny and not Roland. 2.2, main story. I'm assuming Obel Squad will get the main story chapter. The Defense Force seems like it can and should be a big deal. And we already have existing Obel Squad members to build off of. I've got to put them here. 2.3, intermission. I've already said everything, so what I'm going to call Spook Shack goes here. Happy Halloween. 2.4, season finale. No clue. Probably someone really important to the story, which we don't know much about yet. Will likely be much easier to predict after we play through 2.0. Put the most important pending characters here. 2.5, intermission. Angels of Delusion. I talked a bit about these idols at the end of my team building video, so I won't repeat any of that here. What I'll add, though, is a new prediction. Not only do I think we'll be returning to 6th Street for the Angels, but assuming the new design of Wi-Fi Peninsula doesn't melt phones, I think we'll also be getting a redesigned version of 6th Street. This late placement gives them plenty of time to work on those changes, including lessons learned. And just after the Wi-Fi finale is a great place to put that. I think we're going to get a redesigned, larger 6th Street with stores we can walk into, assuming that that's what we're about to get with Wi-Fi Peninsula's design. Finally, I thought about including this at the end of my team building video, but ultimately decided I was too lazy to walk back into my recording booth to add it. I do think we'll eventually get an S-rank Billy, but I do not think it'll be Starlight Knight Billy. Nothing against Sentai teams, but I just think he'll get something more badass, and also more relevant to the story, and in particular, his backstory. I think Starlight Knight is a lot more about Billy's present than his past. But speaking of Sentai, Billy, Ching-Yi, Seed, the Angel Girl, red, blue, yellow, pink. I'm keeping my eyes out for either a green or black intelligent construct. We've almost got a full robot hero team. That is all for today. Thanks for listening. Hopefully everyone fills out their surveys, and here's hoping 2.0 ends up being as big as we all want it to be.